Hey guys, so I wanted to just make one more quick video because I know that if you probably watched the last one, you might think this guy really doesn't like anything, and I felt like maybe it was just a bit too negative. So rather than have you kind of run around and continue to try to zero in on what I like, I thought maybe it would be helpful as well to just go through some websites and figure out what do I like and then tell you what I like. So now you have a good list of like what I don't like and what I do like. What I did when I was going through this is I went through the Forbes 50 Cloud 100. I went through about 30 or 40 of them, and I went to the AI 50, which are basically the top AI and the top cloud companies in the world right now. I went through all their sites and I found, maybe seven or eight that I thought did pretty well. And I'll put these links into our Slack channel so you can reference these yourself. And so, yeah, I'll basically just kind of talk about what I like in general. I think like this is a real super clean site. The typography is nice, the spacing is nice, and just the how they've sort of sized things. I I feel like it just comes off real professional. It feels very businessy, but it doesn't feel like old business. It feels kind of like modern business. This is cool. Like when you get into the actual case study, it kind of, or maybe this is the product. I'm not entirely sure, but whatever. This is just like kind of a nice takeover section. And in general, they do a good job of using color while also keeping that sort of minimalist white so that things really kind of pop and stand out. And I think, we had this idea of like showcasing, when people land on the site, which sector, like they need to self identify. I thought this was like a pretty cool way to do that. And even on their sort of more complicated, complex things, they just have a nice way to not overwhelm you. I think it's easy when you're talking about like extremely complicated stuff that they've still kept it relatively just three bullet points. It's all symmetrical. It's all roughly the same amount of text on each bullet point. And yeah, I think in general, big fan of this site. Case studies are nice. Not entirely obvious to me, like this was a clickable thing. So, you know, and it doesn't seem to like float through as you scroll through. So I think there's maybe one missed opportunity here, and that you may not necessarily scroll to see the next one. But in general, yeah, just like really nice job here. Next one, um, Harvey.ai. So setting aside the video, which we know I'm not a huge fan of, I think what I kind of like about this one specifically is that when they are tackling a single feature or benefit or whatever, that like the spacing is really well done. So you'll see like on the sites I don't like, they try to cram too much stuff in. But in this, it's just as simple as like a headline, a simple sentence, a call to action with paired with an animation, but you're not necessarily thinking about what the next thing is until you get there. So I think like the lack of text helps keep it minimal. The amount of negative space they have around things, it really just works super well. And even when you get to certain things like this, they're not overloading it and making them super large and obnoxious. Symmetry is nice, nice little touches on the lines. And then for the actual case studies themselves, they really help them sort of shine through. So you get the sense for like the people, you can't miss it. It's just a really nice, totally different vibe. And yeah, I guess I just like how each thing kind of feels like its own section, and you're not bleeding into the next one. So yeah, I thought that those are the kind of things I like here. And then moving on to this next one, photo room. Yeah, I think cool hero. I mean, certainly like it's got stuff going on, but it's not overly distracting. It has nice visuals. It pops. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of the Digital Butlers vibe, in that it's like it's got these kind of cute artsy things happening, but it still has animations. And then of course, like the validation down here is nice to see at right at the top without you having to scroll very far. I think that's smart. And then again, I'm going to just sort of point out each thing in this site feels like its own section, which that's the kind of website I like. I like that each thing is spaced correctly. Typography is nice. Also, cool use of like just again minimalism, but like still keeping their brand colors to kind of pop through. Like you definitely see the call to action because there's so much stuff that is. I wouldn't say it's not like bland or anything. The things pop off the edge, like the gold, the purple, but your brain naturally just wants to click this, and I think they just do a good job with their calls to action. But um, and also just use of color, right? Like they frame things really nice. They put things within frames. They frame within frames, and you know, good calls to actions make you want to click. Interesting that they've like chosen some calls to actions that are purple, and some call to actions that are black, which you would think that's just kind of a cool thing that I'm noticing with these guys, that like they don't just make everything purple. I think it's a nice touch, and it allows the purple to actually come out at you a little bit more versus if everything was purple. Um, Again, good job on the case study and like kind of using like the visualness of it instead of just making it a whole bunch of text. They've got the logos. Yeah, I think they've just done a really nice job with this site. Okay, next up. Okay, so scale. Um, Quick run through because it's been a while since I've kind of looked at these and I initially identified them. Um, I think what I probably liked most about this site when I was kind of going through it, because to me, this is a little bit more of the IT site. You know, it's pretty technical. Um, I won't say that I love this one as much as the other ones. I think what I liked most about it was probably how it kind of felt minimal, but everything was lined up, symmetrical, and you never felt overwhelmed. They weren't using too much text. I would rank this particular site lower down than the other three that I've showed you, but I just think, uh, and again, some of the things I don't like about this site is like, okay, fine, this is a hero that I'm only looking at, but now I'm here and I'm not paying attention to this because I'm already thinking about this. So I don't love that some of the sections bleed into next sections like that. So um, take that for what it's worth. And not a huge fan of like the iconography here. It's just a little weird. But okay, moving on to things I do like. So this one's called Suno, and yeah, I thought this one was interesting. Like, obviously our site's not going to really mirror some of these because this is like a music site, so they have a lot of visuals, they have a lot of audio and video that they can show that we're just not going to get on our site. But again, what I think is cool is a site that uses like dark or light backgrounds and then allows the specific colors to pop off the page, as opposed to like, well, again, this is a great example of like, I didn't love this site, but the things that I thought was really cool that they did a really good job on is some of the examples you shared with me. The iconography was really basic and just felt very cheap, and it just felt very low quality. When you take a look at these 9 cards here, each one of the visual, I guess, they're kind of iconography in some sense, but they're like iconography paired with art in some cases. I don't know. It just sort of like feels very up level. And I think, again, the fact that everything's kind of like a dark black, gray, whatever, white, and then they use the animations to kind of color pop off. it really gives it a real clean look. Now, the rest of the site I don't really care about. I think that was the one point I just wanted to make. Um, Next up, Stripe. So Stripe I like is, I mean, this it's a real beautiful um, hero, and it's it kind of, you kind of know exactly where you are and what they do within a few seconds. The logos are a nice touch, giving the credibility to the brand, which we talk about doing for ourselves. This one I thought was like just a super interesting way to take the animations and the transitions to a whole another level. I have not seen this on any other site that I was looking at. A lot of times you see what they'll do is they'll have like a section with an animation, and then the next, you scroll down and then the text will be over here and it's a different animation, but they're all talking about kind of the same thing, like A, B, C, D. This is the first one where I've actually seen where what they'll do is they have this really complicated thing, right? They're saying, hey, we've got billing, payments, invoicing. Look how many things this Stripe does, right? But when you start to get into it, they're kind of showing you how it flows from payments, and then as you scroll down, it just naturally flows into the next thing, capture recurring revenue, and then he flows into right into the next one. Like, it just feels like the whole thing is this beautiful callback to, hey, you showed me this super complicated thing here, but as I scrolled down, this thing became the next thing, and it was real clean on this side, not too much text or anything. You were able to really understand and get it. So that I just thought was like just a super beautiful job of explaining something. And I mean, just how pretty does this look? This looks really good. Is this and you can play around with it, which is fun too. So like, this is cool. And I think even when you get down to the like self-identify your sector page, they've just done a good job of like kind of keeping it minimal. They had all this cool animations and stuff, and it would have been tempting to just continue to just animate, but they said no, let's just pull back and let's just be clean, modern, and minimal. So I think the balance between sometimes going like heavy on the animations and then knowing when time to pull back and just be kind of more serious and buttoned up, it's just a really nice vibe. And as far as the case study goes, I I like this. Although the one thing, if I'm going to critique them and be a little bit critical here, I think it's a little bit too big for the space. Like, you see how the text at the top, the header, is like literally pushing up against my browser, and the bottom is almost like it's hard to get the whole thing kind of in frame. I think it should have just been shrunk down like maybe 20%, and this would have been absolutely perfect. But I think and then of course you don't even see the rest of the case studies to click through until you scroll down, and at which point you would then have to click a case study, then scroll back up to see the headline. So for me, that's a miss. They should have made all of this smaller and easier to click through. But, in general, another interesting way to like kind of use cards, pretty uh, colors and branding. I mean, it's a beautiful site. Let's be real. It's a beautiful site. And the cards, again, keeping symmetry and padding on each side equal, keeping the spacing between equal, the drop shadows underneath stuff. It just looks real clean. It looks real good. And then even when you get to this, it's nice that they've varied it, right? So it's a white site largely. You got color pop, lots of white. Then you get the blue. Then you go back to the white, and then they end with the blue, and then go back to the white. It doesn't feel like, even though it's a long scrolling site, that you ever really get tired of it. And the thing that I also like about this site, so many of those sites that you showed me earlier, they felt like they were falling into this pattern where it was like, here's a specific template like text and animation, and then you scroll down and it's like they'd flip it, it's text and animation, and then text and animation. And that feels, when it's a long scrolling site, very boring, and you kind of get the sense that it just feels like a template and that there's not a lot of trying going on. But in this entire site, every section feels completely unique and its own. They didn't replicate anything. The entire homepage is all custom, every single section, which I think is like, bravo, well done. That's a lot of work, and it's just really just beautiful. So I think that's great. Um, Coming up with the next one, Deal. So yeah, fine, fair enough. I'm not a huge fan of like videos and stuff, but as far as heroes go, it's fine. I think this is a little bit obnoxious to throw this at the top. I think they could have done a better job there, but in general, stuff that I like. This is the correct speed for a scroller if you're going to have it in my mind. So many of those examples I've seen are like they're just flying through, although kind of weird that they just trailed off. That was a definite glitch there. But in general, I think too many people just throwing them super fast. This is a nice pace. And yeah, like I think for as far as like things go with if you're gonna do boxes and stuff, I like rounded corners. I like this amount of spacing. I don't feel like, again, if you think about this, I really don't want to have like four things on a line. I like the fact that it's like, okay, there's one, there's two, and then you go to the next one and two. You're not having to be overwhelmed with trying to figure out one, two, three, and four. I don't love that I have to scroll down here and then it cuts this off. So some quibbles for sure, but little touches around the photos kind of make it, you know, interesting and different and unique. And again, the good use of color so that it doesn't really ever feel boring. Decent iconography here. These things pop and hit you. Cool use of the curves. Like in general, I think this is pretty good. I would not say this is my favorite site above all, but they do good enough that I would give them like a B. And like, yeah, I mean, this is stock photography, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff where you look at this and you're like, these are cool. Some of these ideas are really nice, the way they've like laid it out. And certainly I don't love it. And this isn't the best way to showcase testimonials. But just in terms of like the little things that they do, making sure that you're walking away with the takeaways, it's good. It is good. I definitely think I struggle sometimes with having to click into something and then scroll down to read it to then go back up to click it. So that's why I would have to only give them a B, because while there is some really great, iconography, animations, typography is cool, there's just too much stuff from a UX perspective that I don't like about it to give it an A. Last site, and then we're done. Okay, so Attentive. Let me just kind of flow through this one. It's been a while since I looked at this. So yeah, okay. For sure, I remember. So basically, I think one thing that stuck out to me was the use of spacing and symmetry here, and it just felt very clean. So, set the hero aside for a second. I don't really care too much about the hero. I think this is a beautiful way to showcase logos, and I've been seeing this more on a couple of these sites actually, where you can just click straight from the logo into the case study, which is interesting and cool. Um, and that seems to be maybe a new trend in like web design. I haven't seen that many places. This is obviously pretty logos has been around for forever, but making them a little bit more interactive is kind of cool. Um, Again, what's great about this site is that every single thing feels like its own. You're, I mean, that you are getting pulled a little bit into this, but I guess they had to do it because that would have been crazy if that was the whole thing. But in general, it does a pretty good job of keeping you in the place without feeling like you're thinking about what's coming next. So, color pops, good spacing, typography. Um, Again, I don't love having to click stuff and then scroll down to read it. So, it's not terrible. It's just on the cutoff. I guess you could say this is fine. I don't know. I mean, you know, cool, cool use of spacing. Like they could have put it all together in the middle, but they kept it off to the side and kind of kept the left right justified for the sections above. And I think it all kind of works. Like I just feel like the way they've lined things up is really well done, and nothing feels overwhelming. Like you can easily skim this, scan this, and figure out what they do without feeling overwhelmed. I have some quibbles with it. I'd give it a B plus, but there's certainly some sites in here that I thought were, truly outstanding. I think Photorome is fantastic. I think this one, Cohere, also pretty good. Give it like an A minus. This is not really my style, but I still like it, and I would give them, A minus for what they've done. This is A plus. This is this is cool as well. I'd give it a B plus. This one I really just was drawn to the use of color and like iconography, so I'm not going to really rate the site. Maybe give it a B. Uh, Stripe was awesome. This is like A plus across the board. This is just super cool. I think this was fantastic and so impressive in so many ways. And then Deal, I think I already gave ratings for both of these sites. So yeah, there's the positive spin on stuff. Hopefully that was helpful. I'll put all these links, like I said, in Slack. And if you have any other questions, let me know.